humans, welcome back to the channel where we discuss everything health, healing, and higher consciousness information. As always, it is my blessing and honor to be connecting with you. And today we have a very special episode because we're going to be taking a look at cancer. We're going to be deep diving into what cancer actually is. And for the sake of simplicity, I'm going to be avoiding all fancy medical jargon and terminology just so you can have the best understanding and awareness of what is occurring. To me, there is nothing more disheartening than when a physician or practitioner is speaking over a patient's head when they're in that state of fear. And it does raise suspicion that if you cannot tell someone how they got in that condition, and if you cannot explain it at an elementary level, then you do not know your information well enough. And so you may have the knowledge and the details of the microcosm and what's going on, but without the knowledge of the macro and how that plugs in, that information is useless. And so let's take a look at what cancer actually is. Let's take the fear out of cancer, because cancer is not a disease. Cancer is a survival mechanism of the body. Yes, cancer is a survival mechanism of the body. So cancer is not a disease. It is not a virus. It is not a bacteria. And it is not a fungus. Those things will indeed come as a result of cancer, but cancer is not that. You see, our body is always trying to keep us alive. It is designed and wired for survival. We have a blueprint, a DNA genetic blueprint that is trying to keep us alive. And so when you look in nature at every living organism, this falls true for the same. All living organisms are designed and wired for survival. And so to say that cancer is trying to turn against us would go against every law in nature. And so cancer is not a mystery. Cancer is nothing more than damaged cells. Yes, cancer is nothing more than damaged cells. Cancer is terminology that we use when a healthy cell that is normally aerobic, meaning it uses oxygen for energy, turns anaerobic, meaning it doesn't use oxygen for energy. At this point in time, the DNA and genetic blueprint has been altered and it has now continued to recreate itself. But again, our body is always trying to survive. And so these cancer cells are still trying to stay alive and they still are trying to have a purpose within our body. Those cells are using the lactic acid, which is our cellular waste. It is breaking it down and fermenting it to sugar for energy. And so it is still having an energetic output, granted a lot less, but it is also still generating heat for the body. The problem is this process is also very acidic, so it does damage the cells around it. So in chemistry, there are only two sides. There's only two sides of chemistry, and that's acid and base or acid and alkaline. It's acidity that damages cells in the body, not alkalosis, because all of our metabolic byprocesses of the body are acidic. And so also our cells can only regenerate in an alkaline medium. A healthy cell has a pH of 7.3 to 7.4. That's on the exterior of the cell. Inside the cell, it is slightly less alkaline of a pH of 7.2. It needs to be slightly less alkaline to generate a polarity, so it can generate electricity, because our cell is a battery and it outputs energy. And so it outputs energy at about minus 20 millivolts. Not the case with a cancer cell. A cancer cell has significantly less energy output. That is because the cellular pH has dropped. It is dropped due to the cellular terrain and to the low oxygen environment. It is dropped to about 6.9 on the outside of the cell, and inside of the cell is slightly more alkaline, and so it reverses. And so the chemistry of that cell, the sodium-potassium ratio changes, and it makes that cell membrane really hard and really rigid. And this therefore doesn't allow nutrients into the cell. So how do we become acidic? There are a few different reasons that how we become acidic. So we become acidic, our cells get damaged by toxic chemicals, by toxic heavy metals, by negative and prolonged suppressed feelings, thoughts, and emotions in the body because they have a very acidic chemistry. Also, hormonal imbalances also generate a very acidic chemistry in the body that can cause cancer, as well as too much meat protein. But what activates cancer is a process of congestion, is a process of cellular suffocation, lymphatic congestion. What is lymphatic congestion? In our body, we have two systems that take care of our cells. We have the blood, which is the kitchen it feeds, and we have the lymphatic system, which is our body's sewer system. This removes the body's waste material. And so when we have congestion or lymphatic stagnation, our body's sewer system is backing up onto the cell. Our cellular wastes are not being removed. This can happen due to kidney filtration impairment. So what could happen is we could have trapped proteins in the kidneys, therefore inhibiting its ability to filter properly, or we could have an adrenal gland weakness, which is also impairing kidney filtration. So when we have lymphatic congestion, these acids and these wastes are being backed up onto the cell. The cell's wastes are not being eliminated, and so it is burning the cell. This acidity is burning the cell. Similar to if you have a baby and you don't change their diaper, what happens? The baby begins to develop a rash. This is the same from the cell. And so what the body does for protection is it invokes a mucus response. And when the body is stagnant and not moving and our waste system is backed up, that mucus also doesn't get removed. And so that mucus stays onto the cell and it hardens and it laddens right onto the cell. So the cell cannot breathe and the cell cannot eliminate. The cell's respiration is impaired and the cell's elimination is impaired. And so that cell begins to erode. So what happens when that cell starts to erode? The first sign that we have when we see cell erosion is a cell go hyper or hypo. The cell will begin to lose its ability to function. The second step that we see when a cell begins to erode is a cell becomes abnormal or what is called atypical. At this point in time, the body's cellular blueprint has been altered. And then the body will employ different proteins and antigens to mark this. And this is what doctors are also referring to when they're talking about cancer and different protein markers. And by that time, the body will employ viruses, bacteria, and funguses to help clean up this cellular waste. And a good example of that would be in a pond. When you look at a river or a moving stream, you do not see any fungal activity or bacterial activity, very little. But when you look at a pond, what do you see at the top of a pond or water that is not moving? You see algae, you see fungus, because it is trying to help clean that water and clean that debris. The same is true for the body. Most of us have cancer cells in our body, more or less. It's only when the cancer cells become to a certain number are they actually detectable on tests. And so normally our body will get rid of cancer cells all on their own. For an example, our body will get rid of the cancer cells and take them to our lymph nodes, which are our body's sewer tanks, our holding tanks. It will then break them down through the use of macrophages and other weapons of arsenal that we have, and it will break them down with bacteria and get rid of those cancer cells. If the body is having cancer cells, it is because it is choosing and allowing them to be there because it serves a higher purpose. In the case of a tumor, if we have a tumor, the body has quarantined these acids and poisons around the interstitial spaces of those cells in the lymphatic system, because if they were to go into the blood, they would cause sepsis and poisoning to the body. So the body has quarantined them off. The tumor is not a problem and it will not get you. And the tumor is only a problem if it is sitting on a major pathway of the body. So most cancer cells, again, do turn over on their own. However, if you are taking in acidic byproducts and creating more and more of these acidic cells, when acids win, you lose. And so you do not die of cancer directly. Cancer does not kill you. What happens is too many of those cells in the body have been broken down. And when too many of those cells in that organ or within that system break down, that organ or system loses its ability to function. And that's when we experience death via cancer. Cancer also does not spread, and it does not metastasize like we think it does. So when cancer spreads via radiation, this is what's happening within the body. So we know that cancer is damaged cells due to acidity. Well, radiation is very acidic. So what happens when you get a treatment like radiation or chemotherapy and you blast that cell, the cell that was atypical or that cell was on the verge of becoming a cancer cell is now a cancer cell because you just damaged it via radiation. The next thing that could be happening when we see cancer spreading is that because there is lymphatic stagnation, because the body is being congested, it's just a matter of time, a domino effect of what cell is going to be affected next, what cell is going to blow out next. Then the last thing that we see when we see a cancer spread or metastasize is a borrowing of nutrients in the body. So the body is intelligent, it has an intelligent design, and it does prioritize what cells need what. So if we see a cancer cell in the prostate and that is breaking down to acidity and that body needs that cell to perform a function, it will borrow calcium from the bones because calcium is abundant, and it will bring the calcium to help buffer out that acidity. Calcium is alkaline. So it will borrow the calcium to help buffer out the cancer in the prostate. But with doing that, these cells in the bone can start breaking down because the body is taking that mineral and prioritizing that. However, that is what we see when we are looking at cancer spreading. We cannot starve cancer either because cancer is a result of cellular starvation. That is why it requires 5 times as much glucose or 5 times more glucose than a normal healthy cell and an increased need for iron because it's the iron that's the oxygen carrier. Therefore, to heal cancer and to allow cancer to develop into its healthy state again, we have to detoxify. We have to cleanse the mucous membrane. We have to restore the cellular terrain to one that is oxygenated. We also have to bring back those vital electrics. Because that cell was damaged, because that cell eroded, we do have to bring back that those electrics, that electricity. And we bring back those electrics through the use of minerals because it's the minerals that are our cellular building blocks. It is the minerals that carry voltage. And vitamins are only utilized through the use of minerals. But we have to do this in a very special form. We can't just take a rock as a mineral. We have to use the mineral in a phosphate form. And in my last apple video, we learned about the amazing benefits of phosphates. So phosphates are minerals that are in small enough form to get inside of the cell. So when this happens, the cell recognizes this as its building material. And at this point in time, the genetic blueprint restores back to the original blueprint when it was healthy. It allows the cell to remember what was the healthy blueprint, what was missing. And so that was a lot of information today I packed in there with you guys. If you need to listen to this again and again, please feel free to do so. So I really hope that I have given you an alternative and an empowering way to look at what is occurring within your body when you are diagnosed with cancer. Because when you have cancer, you are at a crossroads. And what you think and believe and understanding of what is occurring in your body is everything. You either trust in your body's innate ability to heal itself or you don't. But you can't have it both ways. And it is up to you to find the alignment that is correct for you. So thank you all for listening to me. As always, it was my blessing and my honor. If you are in need of healing services or if you would like assistance, that information is available on my website. I offer everything from consultations to health programs to health coaching. And if you like this video, I would just ask that you please give me a like and subscribe because this does help people find this content and find this information. So I hope you guys have a blessed day. It's always my honor. Take better care of yourself because no one will do it for you. I love you.